The rumble of motorcycles shook the windows of Rosie's diner as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the New Mexico desert in shades of amber and crimson. Inside, 23-year-old waitress Maya Torres wiped down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that day, her feet aching in her worn sneakers. The dinner rush had finally subsided, leaving only a handful of customers scattered among the red vinyl booths. She heard them before she saw them. The deep, throaty roar of Harley-Davidson engines pulling into the gravel parking lot. Maya's hand paused mid-wipe. Through the window, she counted 5 motorcycles, their chrome catching the last rays of daylight. The lead rider dismounted first, a mountain of a man with a leather vest adorned with patches that identified him as a member of the Hells Angels. His weathered face was partially obscured by a gray beard that reached his chest, and his arms were covered in intricate tattoos that told stories of a life Maya could only imagine. The other customers' conversations died to whispers. Old Fred, sitting at his usual corner booth, suddenly became very interested in his coffee. Maya felt her heartbeat quicken, but she straightened her spine and grabbed a stack of menus. Her abuela had always taught her that respect was earned by giving it first. The bells above the door chimed as the group entered. The big man in front, his vest read "Bull" above the patch, held the door open with surprising gentleness. Behind him, another biker carefully wheeled in a small figure in a wheelchair. Maya's professional smile faltered for just a moment when she saw the little girl. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, with dark curls that framed a delicate face. Her body was rigid in the specialized wheelchair, her hands curled inward, her head tilted to one side. Cerebral palsy, Maya recognized immediately. Her younger cousin had the same condition. "Evening," Maya said warmly, approaching the group. "Welcome to Rosie's. Right this way." Bull's hard expression softened slightly as he nodded. "Need a table that'll fit the wheelchair?" "Of course." Maya led them to a large corner booth, quickly removing a chair to make space for the little girl's wheelchair. The bikers settled around the table with practiced ease, their leather creaking, their presence somehow both intimidating and protective as they formed a circle around the child. Maya distributed menus, her eyes drawn back to the little girl. "And what's your name, sweetheart?" Bull answered before anyone else could. "This is my daughter, Lily." His voice, rough as gravel, carried a tenderness that surprised Maya. "She can understand everything you say, but she can't talk back." Maya crouched down to Lily's level, making eye contact with the girl whose bright hazel eyes were alert and intelligent despite her body's limitations. "It's nice to meet you, Lily. I'm Maya. Do you know what you'd like to eat tonight?" Lily's eyes moved toward her father, a complex communication Maya had learned to read from her cousin. "She'll have the chicken tenders and mashed potatoes," Bull said. "Cut up real small, and a chocolate milkshake." "You got it." Maya smiled at Lily again. "And for you, gentlemen?" As she took their orders, burgers, steaks, and enough fries to feed a small army, Maya couldn't help but notice the dynamic. These rough-looking bikers, men who probably scared most people on sight, were completely devoted to this little girl. They joked with each other, but their eyes constantly flicked to Lily, checking on her, making sure she was comfortable. When Maya returned with their drinks, she found Bull carefully adjusting Lily's position in her chair, his massive hands surprisingly gentle. The other bikers, Snake, Razor, Torch, and Gunner, had pushed their own drinks aside to make sure Lily's chocolate milkshake was within her father's reach. "Food'll be up in about 15 minutes, Maya said, setting down sweet tea and beers. "Appreciate it," Bull said, and Maya caught something in his eyes. Exhaustion, maybe, or the weight of carrying the world on shoulders built for it, but tired nonetheless. Maya returned to the counter, but her attention kept drifting back to the corner booth. She watched as Bull carefully held the milkshake, while Lily drank through a straw, his massive hand completely steady. She saw how the other bikers adjusted their volume, their laughter, making sure never to startle Lily. She noticed the small, specialized bib that Bull tied around his daughter's neck, with the practice of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. If you believe in the power of observation, in trusting your instincts, and in the courage it takes to speak up when something feels wrong, then pause for a moment. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bike Diaries. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from today, because this story will remind you that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes the smallest voices carry the most important messages. The food came up, and Maya loaded her tray. As she approached the table, she overheard their conversation. "Been on the road 3 days straight," Snake was saying. "Bull, man, you gotta sleep more than 2 hours at a stretch." "I'm fine," Bull grunted. "You're not fine," Razor interjected. "You're running yourself into the ground. When's the last time you had a hot meal that wasn't truck stop food?" "I eat." Bull's tone suggested the conversation was over, but his eyes were shadowed with something Maya recognized, the bone-deep weariness of a caregiver who never stopped, never rested, never asked for help. Maya set down their plates, arranging everything within easy reach. When she got to Lily's chicken tenders and mashed potatoes, she paused. Bull was trying to manage his own meal while preparing to feed his daughter, and Maya could see the logistics problem forming. He'd have to eat cold food, or let his daughter wait while his food got cold, or try to juggle both and end up doing neither well. "Would you like me to help feed Lily while you eat?" Maya asked quietly. "I have a cousin with CP. I know the drill. Small bites. Watch for swallowing. Take it slow." Bull looked up at her, surprise evident on his weathered face. For a moment, Maya thought he might refuse. That pride or protectiveness or simple habit would make him say no. But then Lily made a small sound, her eyes moving between Maya and her father, and something in Bull's expression cracked. "You sure?" he asked, his voice rough. "It takes a while. You got other tables." Maya glanced around the diner. Fred was still nursing his coffee. A young couple in booth 3 was absorbed in each other. An elderly woman was working on a crossword puzzle and a piece of pie that would last her another 20 minutes at least. "I've got time," Maya said. "Besides, Lily and I are going to be friends, aren't we?" Lily's eyes brightened, and Maya could swear she saw the hint of a smile in them. Bull nodded once, a sharp dip of his chin that somehow conveyed more gratitude than 1,000 words. Maya pulled up a chair between Bull and Lily. She picked up the fork and cut a small piece of chicken tender, making sure it was manageable. "Okay, Lily, here comes the first bite. You ready?" Lily's mouth opened slightly, and Maya carefully placed the food inside, watching as the girl chewed slowly. It was a process that couldn't be rushed. Each bite took time, required attention, demanded patience. Maya kept up a gentle stream of conversation, talking about the desert sunset, about a roadrunner she'd seen that morning, about anything and everything that might make this little girl feel normal, feel seen, feel like more than just a set of medical challenges. Beside her, she heard Bull pick up his own fork, heard him take his first bite of hot food that he could actually taste instead of wolfing down cold. Heard the quiet conversation of his brothers resume, some of the tension easing from the table. "Good job, Lily," Maya murmured after a successful swallow. "You're doing great. Ready for some mashed potatoes?" As she worked, Maya became aware of Bull watching her, not with suspicion, but with a kind of wonder. She glanced at him between bites. "What?" she asked softly. "You're a natural," he said. "Most people, They're either too scared to try or they treat her like she's made of glass or like she can't understand. You see her." Maya felt her throat tighten. "She's easy to see. She's got the brightest eyes in this whole diner." Lily made a sound, a small vocalization that Bull clearly understood because his eyes went suspiciously bright before he looked away, clearing his throat. They fell into a comfortable rhythm. Maya feeding Lily, Bull and his brothers eating and talking in low voices about roads traveled and roads still to come. Maya learned that they were riding from California to Texas. That Bull had recently become a single father when Lily's mother had decided that raising a disabled child wasn't the life she'd signed up for. That these 4 men, these scary-looking bikers with their leather and their tattoos and their thunderous motorcycles, had appointed themselves as Lily's uncles and protectors. "Milkshake time?" Maya asked when most of the solid food was gone. Lily's eyes lit up, and Maya laughed. "I'll take that as a yes." She held the cup steady while Lily drank, remembering how her cousin needed breaks to breathe, how important it was not to rush. Bull had finished his meal and was now just watching, his expression unreadable but somehow softer than when he'd first walked in. "You're really good at this," Gunnar commented. "You work with disabled kids or something?" "My cousin Sophia," Maya explained, helping Lily with another sip of milkshake. "She's 12 now. Her mom, my aunt, she works 2 jobs, so I help out when I can. Sophia's taught me a lot about patience." She smiled at Lily. "And about how the best conversations don't always need words." When Lily had finished as much as she could eat, Maya carefully wiped her mouth with a napkin, making sure to be gentle around the sensitive areas. "You did such a good job, Lily. I'm so proud of you." Lily's eyes locked with hers, and Maya saw something in them. Gratitude, connection, a spark of joy that made Maya's heart squeeze. Bull cleared his throat. "What do we owe you for your time?" Maya stood, collecting plates. "For feeding a beautiful little girl who just made my whole evening better. Not a cent. That was my pleasure." "Maya." "I mean it," she said firmly, meeting Bull's gaze. "Some things you don't do for money. You do them because they're right, because everyone deserves kindness, because she's worth it." She looked at Lily. "You're worth it, sweetheart." Bull stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. For a moment, Maya thought she might have overstepped, might have offended him. But then this mountain of a man, this Hell's Angel with his intimidating presence and his hard life etched in the lines of his face, pulled out his wallet and extracted not money but a business card. "This has my number," he said, pressing it into her hand. "I'm serious about this. If you ever need anything at all, you call me. You need your car fixed, your rent paid, someone giving you trouble? You call." His voice dropped lower, more intense. "You showed my daughter dignity tonight. You saw her as a person, not a problem. That's rare. That's precious. And that means you're family now. You understand?" Maya looked down at the card, then back up at Bull. His eyes were fierce with sincerity. Around him, his brothers nodded their agreement. "Thank you," Maya managed, her own eyes stinging with unexpected tears. "If you believe in the power of observation, in trusting your instincts, and in the courage it takes to speak up when something feels wrong, then pause for a moment. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bike Diaries. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from today, because this story will remind you that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes the smallest voices carry the most important messages. The bikers paid their bill, leaving a tip that was 3 times the cost of the meal. But before they left, each of them, Snake, Razor, Torch, and Gunner, shook Maya's hand, thanking her for her kindness to their niece. Bull carefully maneuvered Lily's wheelchair towards the door, but paused at the threshold. "Maya?" he called back. She looked up from clearing their table. "I mean what I said. You're family now. In our world, that's sacred. You remember that?" Maya nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She watched through the window as Bull carefully transferred Lily from her wheelchair to a specially modified sidecar attached to his motorcycle, securing her with the practiced ease of a father who'd done this countless times. The wheelchair was collapsed and strapped to another bike. Within minutes, the engines roared to life, and the group pulled out of the parking lot in formation, Bull in the lead with his precious cargo beside him. The diner felt quieter after they left. Emptier, somehow. "That was something," Rosie herself said, emerging from the kitchen. The elderly owner had been watching the whole interaction. "Been running this place for 40 years, and I've never seen anything quite like that." "They're good people," Maya said softly, still holding Bull's card. "The best people often come in unexpected packages," Rosie agreed. "You did a kind thing tonight, mija. Your abuela would be proud." Maya tucked the card carefully into her pocket and returned to her closing duties. But her mind kept drifting back to Lily's bright eyes, to Bull's rough gratitude, to the unexpected family she'd just been adopted into. She didn't think she'd ever see them again. The road was long, and bikers were always moving. She was wrong. 3 weeks later, Maya was working the lunch shift when the familiar rumble of motorcycles made her look up. Her heart leaped as Bull and his crew pulled into the parking lot once again, Lily secure in her sidecar. They became regulars after that, stopping in whenever their route took them through New Mexico. But the relationship became more than just regular customers. Bull kept his word about family. When Maya's car broke down and she couldn't afford the repairs, she found it fixed and detailed in the diner's parking lot, keys left with Rosie, along with a note that said simply, "Family helps family. Bull." When her apartment building caught fire and she lost everything, she came to work the next day to find Bull and his crew waiting with a truck full of furniture, clothes, and household goods. "Had some extras?" Bull had said gruffly, though the tags were still on half the items. They spent the entire day helping her move into a new place, and when she tried to thank them, Torch had just shrugged and said, "That's what uncles do." But the biggest change came 6 months after that first meeting. Maya was filling out applications for nursing school. She'd been inspired by her experiences with Sophia and Lily to pursue a career in pediatric care for disabled children. But the tuition was far beyond her savings. Bull found out. Maya never knew how, but she suspected Rosie had mentioned it during one of his visits. 2 days later, Maya received a certified letter informing her that an anonymous donor had established a scholarship fund in her name, covering her full tuition and living expenses for the entire 4-year program. When she called Bull, crying, he'd answered on the second ring. "I can't accept this," she'd sobbed. "It's too much. I can't." "You can and you will," Bull had interrupted, his voice firm but warm. "You fed my daughter when you didn't have to. You saw her as a person when most people just see a wheelchair. You gave me 20 minutes to eat a hot meal in peace, and you have no idea how much I needed that night. We'd been on the road for days. I was exhausted. I was worried about Lily. I was questioning every decision I'd ever made as a father, and you just showed up and made it better. But nursing school is where you belong," Bull said. "I looked into you, Maya. I hope you don't mind. You've been taking care of people your whole life. Your cousin, your abuela before she passed, half the folks in your neighborhood. You've got the heart for this work, and the world needs more nurses who see disabled kids as people first. So you're going to take this scholarship. You're going to become an amazing nurse, and someday you're going to help families like mine. That's not charity. That's an investment. In you in Lily's future, in every kid like her who deserves caregivers who give a damn. Maya had cried harder. Besides, Bull had added, his tone lightening slightly, you're family. And in our family, we take care of each other. No arguments. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Bike Diaries. We bring you stories that prove heroism comes in all forms, and that the smallest voices often carry the biggest truths. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever noticed something important that others missed? 4 years later, Maya graduated at the top of her nursing class, specializing in pediatric care. She took a job at a leading children's hospital in Albuquerque, quickly earning a reputation for her patience, skill, and ability to calm both kids and their exhausted parents. Bull and his crew sat front row at her graduation, leather vests among Sunday suits. When Maya crossed the stage, the loudest cheers came from 5 bikers and the little girl in the wheelchair between them. At the celebration, Bull handed Maya a small box. Inside was a silver pendant, an angel with motorcycle wings. On the back, family forever, Bull, Lily, and the brothers. You changed our lives, Bull said, voice thick. You reminded me this world still has good people. You gave me hope for Lily. You're the daughter I never had, Maya. Maya hugged him hard. I love you too, Dad. Then she knelt beside Lily. And I love you, little sister. Lily's bright eyes and crooked smile said everything. Today, Maya runs a support program for parents of disabled children, Lily's Hope, funded by an annual motorcycle rally organized by Bull's chapter. Every year, hundreds of bikers ride into Albuquerque, raising money for the families who need it most. Leading the pack is Bull, with teenage Lily smiling from her custom sidecar. Because heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather vests. And sometimes they're waitresses who take 20 minutes to feed a little girl and change everything. Kindness is never wasted. Compassion is never small, and seeing someone's humanity can ripple further than we ever expect. All it took was chicken tenders, a chocolate milkshake, and a young woman who knew some things aren't done for money. They're done because they're right. Thank you for watching. If this story reminded you to trust your instincts and never underestimate the power of paying attention, please share it. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done in Maya's place? They're all worth it.